The Frederick Towne Mall opened in the summer of 1972. It is located along Highway 40, aka the Golden Mile, in Frederick, Maryland. It was developed by the Shopko Advisory Group, not to be confused with the defunct Shopko department store chain. Montgomery Ward, JCPenney, and the Bon Ton came in to be the three anchors. The mall's opening was heavily anticipated, and it had a steady flow of traffic. At its peak, it would have 73 interior stores, 3 anchor stores, and a Hoyt's cinema. Unfortunately, the mall's glory days would be short-lived, with the nearby Francis Scott Key Mall opening in 1978. The new competition and a change of demographics for the area would draw shoppers away from Frederick Towne Mall. The mall's reputation would suffer from a lot of bad press and crime going up in the area around it.
Authorities say a woman was punched and kicked in a parking lot near a department store. 11 News reporter Lowell Melser traveled to Frederick for this story.
Police say that the attack happened in the parking lot behind me here at the Frederick Towne Mall as the woman was leaving a department store. Police say this should serve as a very important reminder this holiday season that folks need to pay attention to their surroundings.
I started to kick her, punch her. She tried to protect herself, hold onto her purse. I guess the contents of her purse spilled onto the ground, and they took currency and then they fled the area.
Sergeant Wayne Trapp of the Frederick Police Department was the officer who responded to the incident, interviewing the 23-year-old female victim at the hospital.
When I first made contact with her, she had a lot of bruising, a lot of swelling. Obviously was in a very big struggle. Could have went very badly quickly, but she was able to get away.
Sergeant Trapp says the attack happened in daylight just before 3 p.m. Tuesday as the victim was leaving the Bon Ton department store here at the Frederick Towne Mall. Unfortunately, police say these types of crimes become more popular as the holidays near.
A well-publicized attack in the parking lot in 2007 would give an even worse impression of the mall, as well as a rumor of a stabbing in the Hoyt's cinema that would supposedly result in the closing of the theater. I scoured the local news and checked with a former store owner, and there is no evidence of that event ever taking place. JCPenney would partially leave the mall in 1996 in favor of a new store at the Francis Scott Key Mall, and that store is still operating to this day. JCPenney would still maintain a presence for a time as a home goods store to avoid competition moving into the anchor pad. Boscov's would officially take over the space in 2003, and from what I read in the Frederick News Post, would invest $22 million into the anchor building, including a major addition on the east side. Montgomery Ward would shut its doors at the mall in 2001 when the department store chain went out of business. The space would be taken over by the Home Depot in 2004, and unfortunately for the mall, they would eliminate the former mall entrance, so that side of the mall would not get any new foot traffic. The last original anchor, the Bon Ton, would make it all the way to January of 2011 before closing both their main department store and furniture gallery that were across the corridor from each other in the center corner of the mall. Unfortunately, I was unable to figure out a closing date for the Hoyt's cinema. However, based on an article from the Middleton High School student paper, The Round Table, it appears that the theater closed its doors sometime around mid-October in 2009. Boscov's being the only traditional anchor, and the Bon Ton and Hoyt's cinema long gone, the mall only had a small handful of stores remaining. Tenants would continue to leave, and the mall would officially close in April of 2013. John's Hallmark was the last store to close at the mall and would remain open for a short time after the mall had already shut down. John Slocum took over the Hallmark store in 1985 and held out so long that he was literally selling his remaining inventory out of his service store like a boss. The mall would still get some use after shutting down. In 2014, it was regularly used for law enforcement practice drills, which resulted in some of the store security gates being cut open. Urban explorers and vandals would also begin finding their way into the mall during this time. In August of 2014, 3 men were arrested for breaking into the mall when a security officer noticed a service door had been pried open. In 2015, Dan Bell released an urban exploration video of the mall. For whatever reason, the door was unlocked and he was able to walk right in. At this point, the mall was relatively untouched, and utilities were still on due to the Boscov's and Home Depot being on the same power grid as the mall itself. That's right, all you Instagram reel commenters claiming, "Oh, the building's not abandoned if it still has power." Wrong. A building can be abandoned and still have power. It's really not that uncommon. While in its abandoned state, the mall was becoming very popular among the urban exploration community. The power being on and all the neon lights and signs in the mall made it an eerie, fun place to explore. The mall would be explored by Dan Bell 4 different times, Ace's Adventures and Nation of Decay several times, just to name a few of the channels. Personally, my favorite exploration video of all time was Dan Bell's 3rd video of the mall. It was a nighttime visit and was titled Neon Dreams. The video is creepily surreal and is what made me love abandoned buildings with power still on. The owners of the mall would attempt to revitalize the property. In October of 2014, it was announced that Walmart would be building a new store at the property, with plans showing the mall concourses and the former Bon-Ton being demolished, with the Boscov's and Home Depot anchor buildings becoming standalone stores. When I saw these plans, I thought it seemed a bit unpractical from a standpoint of the Home Depot. The rear of the store would have been the side that faced the Walmart parking lot and Boscov's. Boscov's would have just made a new entrance to the store where the mall entrance used to be, but the Home Depot would have been backwards compared to the Walmart and Boscov's. In the end, it turned out not to matter.
Now new this morning, the Golden Mile in Frederick, Maryland will not be seeing a new Walmart. The retailer canceled plans to build a store along that deteriorating strip mall. This comes years into a contract to build the retail store. The city of Frederick was hoping that Walmart might bring new life to that shopping area on the west side of Frederick.
Rockwood Capital would end up selling the mall at auction in February of 2017 to the West Frederick Center LLLP. An attorney representing Rockwood Capital stated that the mall was sold for over $6 million. Normally, a story like this would end with a demolition, but the new owners are incredible. The mall has been secured with a new security system, and they are actually working to improve the property. To start off, the property was renamed to the District 40 in 2019. Warehouse Cinemas opened in the former Hoyt Cinema in September of 2020. The cinema uses the front and rear entrances of the mall. The former Ground Round would reopen as the Taj Mahal Grill and Bar near the Boscov's end of the mall. Both the cinema and grill are still operating today. A furniture store called Frederick Furniture would open in the former CVS Pharmacy on the Home Depot end of the mall, but would announce on Facebook in June of 2022 that they would be closing, citing COVID-19 and rising shipping costs as the reasons. But that small setback wouldn't deter the property owners. Spinner's Pinball Arcade is actively renovating the former Bon-Ton home and furniture space on the rear end of the mall. There is not a listed opening date at the time of the production of this video, but they do have a video on their website showing the current progress. From the looks of it, the arcade is going to be a great facility with something for everyone. The last piece of news coming out of the mall is that a bowling alley will be moving into the former Bon-Ton. There does not seem to be any work happening at the site, however all sources say that an opening date has yet to be announced. Basically, the Frederick Towne Mall's glory days were short-lived. It was unable to stand up to the competition and collapsed from a bad reputation. It became iconic while it was abandoned for the power remaining on and the great neon throughout. The interior of the mall was practically the Wild West. Then it was saved and is going through a slow, yet steady revival. Personally, I'm very impressed with the progress the current owners have made, and I wish them luck going forward. It seems that a lot of locals didn't want the Walmart to begin with, and Frederick Towne Mall may have had a quiet existence while it was still open. But while abandoned, it would become one of the most visibly stunning abandoned malls in America. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on future projects. I want to thank John Slocum for all the information he gave me on the mall and for answering all the questions I had. There just wasn't much information online, and it took a lot of detective work to figure everything out. Follow me on X and check out my TikTok account for comedy content.
Welcome to the beautiful and exotic Frederick Towne Mall, located on the Golden Mile in Frederick, Maryland. Come out and enjoy this shopping experience of a lifetime in stores such as Boscov's, Pocket Change, Long John Silver's, or maybe you're looking for something classy and you want to get a steak and potatoes. Don't fret, you can bring your friends to the Ground Round and have yourself a beautiful meal. Hey Scott, what the are you doing wearing a hood in this mall? It ain't cold. Let's go to the Bon-Ton. Or, if you're not satisfied with that, we can go across the hall and go to the Bon-Ton too, where you can get forks and spoons and stuff like that. And then if you're down for a physical activity, we can go to Joey's out SURREAL and pay $4 and bounce all day long. That sounds like a good time. And then hey, we could go take in a movie from 1992 when they were last open. And if you're feeling zany like Scott apparently is because he's an we could go to Subway and act like it's open when they haven't been open for 5 years. That's also cool. Hey, don't forget about the pit stop. Free coffee from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the mall walkers. Hey, you guys up for some Neo Geo? Looks like a competition going on there. Hey, I tell you what, looks like you guys had a good time in there. So long!